It's been over half a decade since Super Mario Odyssey first released. You feeling old yet? And in those 5 years, putting aside the numerous remakes, ports, spin-offs, and sports games, the Mario main series has remained radio silent. As of right now, we have absolutely no idea what the next Mario game is going to look like. A 3D platformer is probably more likely than a new 2D game, since that seems to be what Nintendo has been prioritizing as of late. The 3D adventure Super Mario Odyssey was a 2017 release, while the last new 2D content was New Super Luigi U, almost 10 years ago on last-gen hardware. And if Bowser's Fury was in fact born out of R&D for the next big Mario game, that also suggests they've been hard at work on a 3D title. I'd venture to say that a new 3D game is where most of the hype lies, and seems to be the desired outcome for most Mario fans. But whether that comes in the form of a direct sequel like in Odyssey 2, or something completely new for the character, that's anyone's guess. One thing is pretty clear though, this is a franchise that can't lie dormant for much longer. What's next for Mario is one of the biggest questions surrounding Nintendo at the moment, and thankfully now, we might be closer to an answer than we have been in years. In a recent Shigeru Miyamoto interview for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Mario's creator was asked about the next Mario game, and his response was, "Stay tuned for future Nintendo Directs." While that quote was quick to make the headlines, in reality, it tells us absolutely nothing. Of course it's going to be at a Nintendo Direct when we finally see what Mario's been up to. At the very least, it's hard confirmation that a new Mario project is in fact in development. But that's like calling the sky blue or water wet. Of course we're getting a new Mario game. The far more interesting thing to speculate on is when the Direct that finally shows Mario will actually be. And it could be as soon as this summer, most likely in June of this year. By that point, we'll be clear of any Tears of the Kingdom announcements aside from potential updates on a DLC. And besides Pikmin 4 and a few big DLCs, Nintendo's release schedule is pretty open, ready to give us that next big thing. So come 2 months' time, a full reveal of something like a Metroid Prime 4 or an all-new 3D Mario is definitely a possibility. And you know what's also a possibility? That a new 3D Mario could be one of the last big games for Switch. Not for nothing, but we are in year 6 of its life cycle. So even if there is currently no indication from Nintendo that next gen will be a thing soon, it's something that needs to be considered. The Switch is extremely successful, and of course, why would they want its life to end when they still have a good thing going? But as time passes, hardware specs age, games get bigger and more ambitious, and especially in Nintendo's case, developers are always innovating. Nintendo might have new video game experiences in mind that simply aren't possible on the current hardware. You couldn't truly experience Skyward Sword without a Wiimote, or Star Fox Zero without the gamepad. So maybe, I don't know, for example, you can't play Nintendo's idea for the next Yoshi game without their next-gen controller or peripheral. So all this to say, it's interesting to think about whether the next 3D Mario game will end up hitting Switch, or whatever Nintendo has planned next. It's common for Nintendo console generations to only have a single Mario game. It happened on both N64 and GameCube, and it happened last gen on Wii U, if we're counting 3D World. But what about Nintendo's last hyper-successful console, the Wii? That had a 6-year run, just like the Switch is on currently, and that console had 2 Mario games. The Switch could certainly follow that trajectory. And hey, for what it's worth, the Wii had Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, so it would be kinda neat if the Switch was to follow in its footsteps with Odyssey 1 and 2. So, if a new Mario is being developed for Switch, it's not crazy to imagine an announcement this summer and a launch as the holiday title for 2023. It certainly makes sense, especially since by then Zelda will be out of the way, and hype for the character will still probably be very high. But let's quickly go back to what I was saying about Nintendo's next-gen hardware. We have no idea what it will be, but we do know one thing. It will be the one thing Nintendo consoles have always been: innovative and change the way we play and look at video games. And if this console is coming soon, what would the best game series to help kick off new hardware be? Well, you could certainly argue that that's Mario. I've said before that I think the next-gen Nintendo launch title is either going to be Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, or a 3D Mario. And to be honest, out of those three, 3D Mario is probably the safest bet to be a smash hit at launch. Plus, probably more importantly, Mario in the Mario universe is the ideal franchise to help demonstrate whatever the hook for the next console is going to be. The imaginative, no-limits nature of the Mushroom Kingdom could easily mold around whatever innovative new ideas Nintendo has for a game, whereas things like Mario Kart and Animal Crossing are far more rigid in terms of what we can expect from a gameplay perspective. When it comes to new Nintendo hardware, one thing I've frequently wondered is how exactly it would be revealed. What channel would Nintendo use to deliver the news? Previous consoles have been revealed during live E3 press conferences. For the Switch, they released an announcement trailer and followed up with a live event, the legendary Nintendo Switch presentation in 2017, showing off Breath of the Wild, Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, among many other things. And you know what's kind of funny? A new Nintendo Live event for the United States was recently revealed. Details are very vague right now, but it's happening in September 2023. Looking at recent years, September has usually held a Nintendo Direct presentation. So maybe, just maybe, this newly announced event could be the venue to reveal or showcase new hardware, just like that Switch presentation in 2017. I'm not saying this will be the case. We could very well see Mario in the summer and no new hardware for several years. But it's not impossible that this Nintendo Live is the venue they'll use to show off next-gen hardware on stage, in front of a live audience, especially since E3 is no longer a thing. This Nintendo Live event could be live streamed simultaneously with the Japanese event, and it could be where we see a next-gen blowout, new 3D Mario game included. I don't want to get anyone's hopes up, so of course this is all speculation at this point, but it is really fun to think about. And despite all this next-gen talk, if you ask me, I'm very content right now. For one thing, I'm personally thrilled with our lineup this year. From Zelda to Pikmin 4 to story DLC for Xenoblade, Pokemon, and Splatoon, I feel like I'm dreaming and someone handpicked this just for me. I couldn't possibly ask for much more. But of course, Nintendo needs to keep a good thing going, and a new mainline Mario game in any capacity is a fantastic way to do just that. No matter which way it all goes down, I'm excited to see, and I'll be here to talk about it with you all the way through. Thanks as always for watching.